talk a little bit about the sales model. And so in the world today now, you generate some great awareness of your product, right? People kind of find you, and the next thing you know, they're on your website. You have all this great content there, and they sign up for the free trial, and they give you their name, and you design a great product so they have a good experience. And the next step that we really found was, well, someone has to call them. And this is kind of where the consumer experience starts to diverge a little bit than the business experience. When we started Salesforce, we thought, maybe it actually be an environment where we don't need any sales reps. Maybe we just kind of throw the product up there. They try it out. They like it. They type in their credit card number just like they're buying a book. And the next thing you know, we can collect revenue. We can kind of turn off the lights. I'll move to Hawaii, and this thing will just be a money-making machine. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way. And what we found is in a business setting, people still need to talk to people. It's not quite like buying a book, right? There's more at stake there. Your job is at stake. Your corporate data is at stake, right? There's a little bit more at stake, and they really need to talk to somebody. And so very, very small percent, and I don't even know what the number is. It's pretty much negligible of our deals, if you will, kind of go through the system without ever any human contact. And I suspect the ones that actually do are people that have used us before and are really comfortable with it, and they simply, they've already sort of passed the hurdle rate. And so what we found is you needed a sales force. And if you have a sales force, someone has to call these guys back. And so if you look at the pre-internet world, the enterprise software mindset, especially for a startup, was to hire seasoned sales guys, right? You wanted to hire sales guys out of Oracle, right? And you wanted them to hire sales guys out of Oracle. And they would have this Rolodex. And I happen to think the Rolodex is a myth. Every time we hire a sales rep that supposedly has a Rolodex, he comes in the organization and there's no Rolodex. But that's the theory. And so you want guys that actually say, look, I'm going to extract a deal out of HP, right? I'm going to extract a deal out of B of A. And that's the mindset. But if you've built out this whole world of the internet and people are coming to your website and they become a lead, right? Someone's got to follow up. And so more important than hiring these high-power sales guys, what we found was we really wanted to hire a telesales operation, right? We really wanted to have somebody call that person back and say, did you like the product? Do you have any questions? Is there anything I can help you with? How can I help you take to the next step? And so on and so forth. And the other thing what we found was even when we had telesales reps, if it was a sales rep that was responsible for closing business, they wouldn't call back the leads, right? Because they would be so focused on closing the deal at hand that they would ignore the leads. After 3 or 4 days, nobody's calling the leads, and you didn't strike while the iron's hot. And the next thing you know, the guy's busy, right? The guy's moved on to another part of his job, right? He's thinking about something else, right? You're not catching him while the issue is top of hand. And so we've seen this evolution really in the industry from what I'll call, a field sales model to what I'll call a two-tiered sales model, where we've seen companies now really start hiring what we call lead qualifiers, right? People that call the lead back immediately, figure out which ones are really qualified opportunities versus, they're on the wrong website or, they just have needs that you can't meet. And then they figure out which ones are qualified, and whether it's 10% that are qualified or 50% that are qualified, they take that subset that are qualified and they pass it off to a sales organization. The other thing that we found is the sales organization now needs to be more fragmented. And so there's a part of the customer segment that you then pursue through different type of sales organization. And that kind of gets to the next point about segmenting and focusing. And so a lot of what we're taught in a traditional marketing sense is to say, you got a STP, is what I learned at the GSP. Segment, target, position, right? You look at the marketplace, you divide it up into segments, you pick the one you want to go target, and you position your product into that segment. And Jeff Moore, right, who often speaks at these events, teaches us that, which is, once you cross the chasm with the crazy early adopters, then you got to go down the bowling alley approach, right? Pick one pin at a time, niche market. Go conquer this vertical first, and then move to the next vertical. And being good students of Jeff Moore, that's kind of how we thought. And what we found was it didn't quite work out that way, right? We basically said, look, we're going to be a small to medium-sized business, right, product. We're going to go target that space because we figured that's where the need is. But then you throw up a website, you do some general awareness, people come to you, and you can't exactly control who's going to you. And so before the internet, when you had a world where you have sales reps going out there and targeting HP and targeting Cisco and targeting B of A, that worked really well. In this new environment, you just have people come to your website, right? And you got to react to that. You got to call them back. You got to ask them what they want. You got to position your product. And people would come to our website from all sorts of places, right? In the first week, we had people from 60 different countries come to the website. I don't even know how they found out about us, right? We had no awareness in some of these places, but they're on Google. They type a few things, and the next thing they know, they're on our website, and we have them. And so what we found pretty quickly on is that we really needed to pursue all customer segments. And so we've gone from a mode of saying, let's pick and choose which customer segment, to a mode that says, look, the best way to take advantage of this thing called the internet, which is about scale, is to pursue every single thing that comes to you, right? Now, you got to be smart about that, but instead of choosing and picking and doing upfront analysis, what you then do is you let the marketplace tell you, right? Oh, China seems to be coming online. What's going on over there, right? Let's call a few people back. Let's see, if the product is a good fit. If it is, how do we then go pursue that marketplace? We thought we were a small to medium-sized play, and we found that big companies came to us. And in hindsight, it's not that strange. It was a little obvious in hindsight, but departments of big companies would use our service, right? Because you're a 5-person department, you're a 15-person department. You don't really want to deal with the corporate infrastructure. You could just sign up for this thing. And we saw all sorts of large companies. And then the different departments and the large companies started banding together. And so Autodesk was an early company, for example, that came to us and said, well, we got Autodesk Canada. They got like 10 users using Salesforce. We got Autodesk Europe. They've got like 50 users, 100 users. We also have this big CRM initiative, top-down driven, and we're scratching our heads saying, well, why don't we just use this, right? The users seem to love it. But we took a look at your product, we signed up for it, and it's missing some few key features that we really need as a large organization, right? We need heavier customization. We need different departmental profiles, right? Because large organizations have different processes across different departments. We need integration, right? Because we can't run this thing in standalone. We got to tie it into our back office system. So by sort of throwing up a website, letting the market come to us, and then kind of looking at it and saying which ones are really coming to us, we found that we were drawn to large enterprises pretty quickly early on in the company's existence. And so we wound up really building what we call an enterprise product. We wound up segmenting our product lines to sort of a professional and enterprise, and then we wound up really segmenting our sales force in the sense that we still had all this, small businesses that came to us, and we would service them through a telesales channel. But then big companies like Autodesk, we would build out a field sales channel, a traditional field sales channel, to really address those companies because we could see that the demand was there, and the marketplace was there. It wasn't a big risk.